Hello everyone, it's Rushil and welcome back to another MedBoys video. Today I'm going to be teaching you how I scored a 4th quartile on my CASPer exam in a matter of 2 weeks. Let's get started.
First of all, the CASPer exam isn't the same as last year. They've made a lot of changes, so let's go through them first. Now CASPer is split into 2 different sections, a type-based section and a video-based section. For the type section, there's 9 different scenarios, and for the video section, there's 6 different scenarios. The type section gives you 3 different questions in 5 minutes, and you have to answer all of them. And for the video-based section, you also get 3 questions, but you have to record a 1-minute answer for each one of those questions. That essentially becomes an interview.
This test has also become quite long. It went from 60 to 90 minutes to complete to now 100 to 120 minutes to complete. This is because that there are 15 questions this year instead of 12 from last year, which means there are 10 video-based scenarios instead of 8 and 5 word-based scenarios instead of 4. All in all, this test has just become a lot longer and more rigorous.
With that all being said, don't worry at all. This video is going to include all the tips that we use so that you can guarantee yourself a 4th quartile score and get into the medical school of your dreams. By the way, we're going to be making a separate video on breaking down how to specifically answer CASPer questions along with video response examples, so be on the lookout for that.
Now let's move on to tip number 1, which is to increase your typing speed as much as you can. Try to bring it to the 75 words per minute mark because that essentially helps you answer 3 different questions in the 5 minutes. But you also have to realize that you'll also be thinking when you're answering the questions, so that can also take up a lot of time. So it definitely isn't necessary, but try to increase it as much as you can. Some popular websites that we've used is 10 Fast Fingers or typingtest.com.
Something that helped me tremendously throughout my preparation was making a list of 5 activities that I just could talk about for hours and hours. These activities could be anything. It could be volunteering at a hospital, it could be being part of a sports team, volunteering at a soup kitchen, anything that you can talk about for hours and hours, and this will become your safety net for CASPer.
What Nimit means by this is that each scenario is marked by a different evaluator, and in theory, you could use the same experience to answer every single question, although this isn't advisable. Instead, we recommend having 5 main experiences that you could just use and apply to any scenario that you'll ever encounter. This way, you'll have a diverse set of experiences and you won't have to think about what you want to write, and you could go straight to answering the question itself. This could be the difference between a 3rd and a 4th quartile score, so please be sure to do this as soon as you can.
Since there are 3 different questions that you need to answer in 5 minutes, what you should try to do is read all 3 questions before you start answering the first question. This is because sometimes all 3 questions are very similar to each other, so it's very likely that you might answer the second question in the first question. For example, if there's a question like, what would you do if your friend cheated on a test? And the second question was, would you tell the teacher? Now, if you already wrote, would you tell the teacher in the first question, then your second answer would basically be worthless. So try to read all 3 questions first and then answer the questions.
If you don't have a background in ethics or haven't taken the intro ethics courses, I would advise you to read up on some ethical theories and ideas because they do come in handy during this exam. The values of beneficence, non-maleficence, autonomy, and justice are the 4 values that will come up over and over again, so it's absolutely necessary to know what they are and how to apply them. You can learn about these through YouTube videos. You could read Doing Right, which is a book that everyone reads when they're preparing for CASPer and for interviews. However, in my personal opinion, you don't need to read the entire book to actually get the values. I would say just read the chapters that pertain to the values specifically, and then try to practice as much as possible, as that would be the best use of your time.
These were some general tips, but how do you actually get better at CASPer? Is there a way to practice for it? Well, there is, and those people that tell you can't practice for CASPer, they're wrong. You can definitely get better at CASPer by practicing, and the schedule we recommend is doing 6 days a week, about 1 to 2 hours per day. This is really similar to what kind of practice you'd be doing for the MCAT, so it's not like you're not already familiar with it. What we recommend is doing a scenario and piling on more scenarios as you get more comfortable, similar to what you'd be doing for cars, for example.
I would also suggest adding some CASPer full-length tests to your schedule before the date, just so you get a feel of what the questions are like and what the timing is like.
In terms of the video responses, our tips are very similar to what we would have given for interview tips. And the first tip that's extremely important is to look at the camera. COVID has taught us to get on Zoom calls and take these meetings while social distancing, but it hasn't taught us to look right at the camera. This is really important because if you're taking a video where you're looking down or you're looking at the screen which makes it look like you're looking down, this can leave a bad impression on interviewers. Instead, if you're looking right at the camera, they're going to think that they're looking right into your eyes, and that's how communication can be more efficient.
Another important tip is that you're speaking loud enough and that you're able to articulate all of your words properly so that people can hear what you're saying. To improve upon this, what you can do is record yourself using apps like Zoom or Photo Booth and re-watch yourself tens of hundreds of times over to make sure that you're doing everything correct. Presentation is a massive part of any video-based response, so that's why it's important to get it down perfectly. And if you're struggling with pronunciation, feel free to start by warming up with tongue twisters. So for example, how much would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Also, when recording and re-watching yourself, try to write down or note down some words that you keep repeating again and again. For example, because, so, like. These are all words that aren't helping your answer, and it's just something that markers will catch on to very easily. So try to eliminate them as you re-watch yourself after you've recorded the videos. One thing that I did to eliminate the sound was to speak slower. That helped me understand what I was talking about and also eliminate those repeating words like
For both the video and the word-based sections, one thing you have to learn to manage is your stress. 5 minutes is not a long time at all, especially for 3 questions, and there are going to be questions that you will definitely struggle on. However, it's important to remember that these questions, once you move on, do not affect your future questions because, once again, the interviewers don't know how you did on previous questions or any other questions for that matter. Therefore, if you mess one question up, if you mess entire scenario up, just forget about it and move on to the next one.
And that brings us to the end of the video. We hope that all of the tips we provided for CASPer ensure your success, and if you have any questions, be sure to let us know in the comment section below, and see you all in the next one.